Hi friends, lesson 4 here, and we're going to talk about triangles. And there's two different ways to talk about triangles. So I'm going to make a short video on one way and a short video on the second way, just because I think it might be easier for you to digest a little bit, because there's a lot of pages to this lesson. On page 305, you're looking at, it says the prefix tri means 3. So it's easy to remember that a triangle has 3 angles, triangles. They can take their names from the kind of angles they have, and we know all the different kinds of angles. So a right triangle has one right angle, which we show by drawing a small square in the right angle. So we're talking about that little square right there. An obtuse triangle has at least one obtuse angle. And obtuse, remember, is greater than 90 degrees. So that angle right there that I just drew a blue line around is obtuse. Now, an acute triangle has 3 acute angles. So those means they're smaller than 90 degrees. So if you move down here, you can see we have an angle here. We have a triangle here. And this triangle is called triangle QRS. And it wants you to name its 3 angles and their type. So I've already done this for you. I've already written it, but I want you to kind of follow me as I talk about it. So QRS, it's QRS or SRQ. I kind of showed you that in here I said I put the angle symbol to match the color on the triangle. So you can see that that angle is a right angle. It's 90 degrees. Q S R and R S Q is denoted by this blue marker and this blue angle, and it's acute. It's smaller than 90 degrees. And then if you notice, SQR or RQS is denoted by this angle right here. It also is smaller than 90 degrees, so it's acute. So what kind of triangle is triangle QRS, and how do you know? Well, if I look at my definitions back here at the top and I'm looking at them, there are certain criteria that the triangle has to have. A right triangle only has to have one right angle. An obtuse triangle only has to have one obtuse angle. An acute triangle has to have 3 acute angles. So if I'm looking at this triangle QRS right here, we've already identified that 2 of the angles are acute and 1 is right, which makes triangle QRS a right triangle. And how do I know this? Well, it has one right angle that's indicated by the small square on the corner. So if you continue to move down on page 305, you can draw one right angle, one acute angle, and one obtuse angle. You might want to press pause right here so that you can get down the notes for page 305. So hopefully you got all of those little notes that I had written down for you on page 305. And we're going to go on to 306. And it says, name each of these triangles by its angles and then explain your thinking. So on the top line, you identify the kind of triangle, and on the bottom line, you say your thinking. So if we're looking at these 3 triangles, I'm looking at number 4. There's no right angle indicator. And as I'm looking at those 3 angles, I notice that they're smaller than 90 degrees. So I'm going to say that that's an acute triangle. Now number 5 has one right angle, and it's indicated by the small square. So I know that if it has one right angle, it's a right triangle. And then if I move down to number 6 a little bit, you can see that there are 3 angles. 1, 2, 3. Those are all acute. They're so cute. So that's an acute triangle. Now here's my thinking or my reasoning for picking these. Number 4, there's 3 acute angles. And number 5, there's 1 right angle. Number 6, there's 3 acute angles. Now if you move down to the next one, number 7 has a pretty big angle, and all an obtuse triangle needs is 1 obtuse angle. So number 7 is an obtuse. Number 8, just at first glance, we know right away it's a, I hear you say it, right triangle. Because of that square, it kind of gives it away. And if I'm looking at number 9, I know that that angle is bigger than a right angle, so it must be an obtuse. And in order for it to be classified as an obtuse triangle, it only needs to have 1 obtuse angle. So that's the name of each of those triangles by its angle and the reasoning behind it. At any time, if you need to pause this, I am going fast because there's a lot to get into this lesson and I want to make 2 shorter videos. Pause it, copy what I have, okay? Moving along, we have 10, 11, and 12. And I'm looking at 10, and those look like they're really cute little angles. Number 11 has 1 big one, 1 obtuse angle, and 12 has 3 acute angles, so I should have an acute triangle, an obtuse triangle, and an acute triangle. And the reason for that is 3 acute angles, 1 obtuse angle, and 3 acute angles. I go on to number 13. Well, number 15, look at number 15 right away. What do we see? We see a right angle. So we know that that's a right triangle. If I look at number 13 and 14, there's 2 really big angles, bigger than 90 degrees. So I know that those are obtuse triangles. The reasoning, at least 1 obtuse angle, at least one of the 3 angles is obtuse. One of the 3 angles is right, which makes it a right triangle. So describe how angles make triangles different from one another. So the greater the size of an angle, the longer the opposite side. So for example, on this one, here's a great angle. This is a longer side. The smaller, let's look at a cute one. The smaller the angle, the shorter the opposite side. So like this is a really small angle, which makes this a shorter side. So this is the first way to classify triangles. It's all by their angles. In the next short video, which is right underneath this one on haiku, you will find the next way to classify triangles, which is by their sides.